Welcome to the Coffee with COVID-19 podcast. My name is Patrick Rolfe, and this is an ongoing media project where we use conversations with some of the leading entrepreneurs and thinkers within the coffee industry to try to understand a sustainable way through living together with our new reality, COVID-19. So welcome everyone, we're back with episode 7 here at the Coffee with COVID-19 podcast, where our search and what we're trying to do is to identify and learn how professionals within the coffee industry have been reacting, acting, and is now living together with COVID-19 as our kind of new reality. And we're super happy to have Lem with us from Black and White Roasters all the way from the US, which is actually the first person on this podcast from the US. So we're super excited to see what he has to bring to this conversation. How are you, Lem? What are you up to?
I'm doing good, man. Having a cup of coffee, relaxing. I'm actually at home today, but yeah, doing good.
Oh, super. Which coffee are you drinking? Side note, but still interesting.
This is El Even Geisha. It's pretty delicious.
Fancy stuff, yeah.
Floral, sweet, yeah.
Amazing. That's how you like them, no? That's how it should be, your coffee. So I want to bring this conversation back to the beginning, as we always do in this podcast. We want to hear, what was your first reactions? How did you hear about COVID-19? And what was the kind of emotional and also, as a business owner, business approaches that you took with that first kind of announcement?
Well, I heard about it back in, I guess, November, December. And I was concerned about it because I'd spent quite some time in China. So the first thing I did was reconnect to my WeChat to check on friends and students that I taught, just to see how they were doing, how they were impacted. And when I started to see cases pop up in the US, I guess that was February. We didn't know the extent of it. Because, well, one, politically, our leader kind of downplayed the situation, but just seeing how it affected China and Asia, I was worried that it was going to be pretty hard on us, especially as a company, because we had just started our third cafe in December. Our second cafe was opened in the summer of last year, and we had just moved our roastery into a bigger space in December as well. So in February, I was kind of concerned. And then when we had our lockdown, we wanted to leave it up to our staff if they wanted to continue to work through the pandemic, through the shutdown, the lockdown. And everyone except one, we have a 33 employees. Everyone except one decided they wanted to work. So we came up with a strategy to keep them safe in that process. We came up with a separate online curbside menu, so folks could go online, order coffee, food, and we would bring it out to their car, and that worked. And yeah, so we implemented a lot of safety measures for our staff in the cafes. No one was allowed in the cafe other than employees. And then we started to notice a spike in our online retail. So that actually helped a lot because 2 of the cafes were down probably 80-90%. And we were able to rotate that staff into production in the roastery to help keep up with demand for online retail. And we basically did that for 3-4 months. And then we were able to allow folks to come into the cafe to order. But we're in phase 2 right now, where folks can come into establishments at half capacity. But again, we left it up to our staff if they felt comfortable, and they didn't. So we don't allow customers inside the store to sit. They can sit outside, but now they can come in and order. We have to put up like plexiglass shields. We're not taking cash right now. We're only doing contactless and credit cards, debit cards, and it's worked. It's worked out pretty well for the past few months.
So you would like, first of all, I want to commend you for it seems to, how you've been treating your staff is pretty amazing, right? Where we've been having a lot of, and again, no right or wrongs here, right? But this is the first time I actually hear someone that is basically starting with the staff in that sense, as in like you're asking the team first, what are you guys okay with? I think it's a lot of, as being a business owner myself as well, we've seen different reactions, but it's quite easy to stress out in these kind of situations and not think staff first, right? So that's amazing to hear that you're able to kind of do that, right? And when you're saying, so like you guys doing fine now, that means that you guys are basically like floating and okay, covering costs. But how far are you from prediction for this year, so to speak?
Oh, well, a number of things have happened because of COVID. So when the lockdown happened and folks were trapped at home or couldn't go to work, a lot of businesses started to lay off a lot of people. And some things have happened in our industry, in the coffee industry, that, some businesses have acted irrationally, and the layoffs have been a way of other folks in the industry to speak up in how they've been treated in the industry. And some companies have done some things that weren't really scrupulous. So a lot of cafes, when they were allowed to reopen, they looked at some of these companies and said, well, you guys don't really align with our ethics. So they started to leave certain roasteries in the US, and they actually came to us. So due to COVID and some political issues in the US, we've actually had a number of wholesale accounts come to us and really appreciate what we've done in the industry, even before Black and White Coffee Roasters, both Kyle and I, and now with our roasting company, they've come aboard. And our wholesale has increased after the shutdown has increased a lot. And we've done really well this year compared to last year. I think we're probably up 150% from last year as a company. And that's really great. It's allowed us to continue to refunnel a lot of that money into our staff, hiring more people on the team. And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, when we approached our staff in the beginning, if they wanted to continue to work, a lot of them have families and they had to work. So we wanted to be able to provide that opportunity for these people to continue to work and make things as safe as possible for them. And I think having our cafes in these certain communities that have embraced us, they really appreciate that kind of respite from COVID, from political issues. They're able to come to the cafe and still have that kind of morning ritual. I'm going to get coffee. Okay, I can't sit inside, but I still get my coffee, my muffin, or my bagel. And they really appreciate that. So even after the lockdown, we started to see the two cafes that struggled are starting to come alive again. We're starting to see more wholesale accounts come alive again across the US. And we're doing really well compared to a lot of companies during the lockdown, during the pandemic, both here in the US and abroad. So I think we're in a really good position.
Well, I mean, first of all, that's absolutely amazing to hear, right? I think you and together with Kelowna that we recorded with previously as well are kind of the first ones that kind of really spin this off to something positive. And I always like to stress also personally, where it's COVID-19. I mean, let's face it, no one wanted this. It's been devastating in so many ways. And, you know, a life without it would have been better. But for some companies and through some processes, it's been almost like an amplifier in terms of, and I'm quoting Kelowna on this now, the companies that had their shit together before COVID-19, treated their staff right, you know, were ethical. All of that is going to benefit them, as you're mentioning now as well, going into a process like this, right? Whereas the companies that obviously didn't have that in the past, that's just been so much clearer, right? And I think we see, you know, both within the specialty coffee industry, but also, as I had a conversation with others as well, the transition between, you know, people, I can imagine a lot of people normally going to Starbucks in the States are actually now going to your local coffee shop, right?
Yeah, they're still going to Starbucks.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, yeah, one of our big things that we decided a year ago was to focus more on community, and we wanted to make build coffee shops in communities that were lacking that kind of gathering spot around this incredible product, you know. And we're starting to see that was actually a great decision because. You know, you guys don't know nothing about where we are, but Roseville is like this culture where they commute to the big city, and now that everyone's staying home, they have their community coffee shop, and it's no longer a morning thing; it's kind of an all-day thing. And Wake Forest, which is down the road from the Roseville shop, this is the original location. It's in a college town. It's a small town, but there's not a lot of coffee there as well. So folks have really, you know, were drawn to us when we started there, and that continues to shine, and it's amazing. Our downtown Raleigh area, Raleigh is the capital of North Carolina. When the shutdown happened, everyone went home and no one was downtown. It was really bizarre to be downtown, and there's no traffic. People are like walking their dogs. It was something out of a movie. It was so bizarre. And that cafe struggled a lot, 90% down. But as people started to come back to downtown, we're starting to see those numbers come up. You still have people, you know, going to the chains like, you know, Starbucks or Caribou, but with your community coffee shop, folks are really supporting. Not even just us. Other cafes in the area are community based, and folks are really supporting that you know, that small business kind of that feel of like community. So I think that being one of our core values, community, we're really seeing you know, the return on that investment in the community, and people are really appreciating it. So we love that.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and I'm personally convinced that that's something that's gonna stay. So even if we go back to some kind of normal eventually, I think there's actually a clear transition there. And we've seen, I think the first kind of numbers are out in terms of how coffee shops has performed in Europe during this time as well. And it's really interesting because it's very clear that the coffee shops that stayed open during the initial quarantine, even though serving takeaway or, you know, not having any seating, have actually benefited significantly once we opened up again. Whereas the coffee shops that's been closed, people are not returning to it.
Yeah, and that's what coffee was all about in the beginning, right? This kind of community thing where people are gathering around and having coffee and discussing whatever and just coming together. And I mean, what better time to do something like that during a lockdown, being shut away from people, from society, from our daily routines and being connected with folks. So when, people were really able to come back out, they really did come out and represent, and it's been awesome. And it's really cool to see that happen, across the country, and, internationally too. So, it's awesome that, we're coming back around to that thing that coffee was all about in the beginning, in that traditional Ethiopian coffee ceremony,
Yeah. I want to move on here, and I want to have a closer look, because you mentioned something that almost every roastery owner on this podcast have mentioned as well, where online sales is going up, right? That's one of the clear indications of this kind of initial lockdown. And I'm wondering how you guys, have you been able to deal with it? I know personally that the infrastructure logistic is quite different, dealing with a lot of private sales versus, for example, larger wholesale customers. Have you guys done any business strategic choices to focus more online as a result of this as well? Or is it kind of business as usual?
It took us by surprise. We we didn't expect it at all. We actually ran out of our custom 12-ounce bags. We had to get temporary bags just to keep up. And during that time, I decided to do a lot of like how-to videos. Folks have done Instagram lives. Let's do a Zoom meeting on how to brew coffee at home. And right now, we really don't see an end in the near future of this pandemic. So we're moving all of our education courses online, and we're developing those classes, because we started doing home brewing classes in the cafe, and home espresso classes as well. And we were just about to get into like home roasting, and then the lockdown happened, and we can't even really cup together anymore. We're trying to figure out how to do that. We normally cup with our staff on a regular basis, and so right now it's just like Kyle and myself cupping, and even that's weird because we all have our own bowls, and it's crazy. So. We're trying to figure out this whole like education, because that was a big part of both me and Kyle's background, and we want to continue that with our staff, with our customers, our wholesale customers, and it's just that's one thing that I'm struggling with right now. It's like I can't even cup with you, it's horrible. So we're trying to figure that out now as a company.
Do you see that as because I had a similar conversation regarding online classes with Sasa from Product Origin and Ona in Australia, and he said he was quite excited about it, right? As in, he saw it as a new opportunity. There's a lot of just discussions about how can we, to some degree, make the coffee industry more virtual. So I talked to Nadine, that has Primavera in Guatemala, an exporting company, and they're not going to do any origin trips next year, but they're going to do this virtual farm experience, right? So there seems to be this new kind of level of, media content in coffee, which is also kind of interesting, right? Yeah,
because I mean, even my kids are doing classes online now. It's it's crazy, virtual learning. That's what we're working on as well. So. We want to continue that educational component of our company.
What have been,
No, go ahead.
What have been the main? I know it's hard to boil down. I'm trying to do it myself, and we're still very much kind of in the middle of it. But if you want to, as someone, seemingly as it sounds, you've been through, a relatively positive outcome so far at COVID-19, as a company, you've been able to handle it very well. What's been the kind of main lessons, and if you want to do some kind of bullet points on, what you recommend others that are going through a tough time now to think about, to make sure they come out of this whole process in a more successful way?
The biggest thing is it's very stressful. It's very scary, but not to let the fear of what could happen take over you, because then we're not making rational decisions. The key is to keep a level head, especially if you have a staff, because if you're stressed out and freaking out, they're going to be freaked out as well. I've actually seen a company fall apart because the leadership was just so fearful of what is happening, and everything just fell apart. So keep a level head so you can make, conscious, educated, smart decisions moving forward. And, even before COVID, when I first started in coffee, I always saw that your people and your product are your number two, your two things that are going to keep your business afloat. If you take care of your people, they will take care of your business for you. And if you take care of that product, then the customers will continue to come. So take care of the product and take care of your people. And if you focus on those things, I believe that, everything happens for a reason. If you can just find that silver lining. I mean, we were hit by so much in the US with COVID, with the protesting, this whole political issue that's happening right now. But there's a silver lining in everything, I believe. So just take care of your people. And that's what it's all about, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder to everyone, right? And I mean, as we talked about before as well, it's pretty clear that we have companies that haven't taken care of their people already before this, right? So hopefully it's a wake-up call for everyone. One of the questions I always like to ask in the end of each session here is, and I know it's a kind of a tough one, but where do you think the industry is gonna move from here? What can we see in 2021? Is there a post-COVID-19 scenario, or is it just impossible to predict and we should all take it kind of day by day?
That is a tough question. I see great things happening in 2021. Of course, I said that for 2020.
Which, to be fair, in your case, have been kind of true, right? I mean, from what I hear, you guys have been, taking a lot of decisions that is actually improving and making sure that you guys are coming out stronger than before, right? So to some degree, that's still true.
Yeah, and I mean, great things have happened in 2020. Some of them have been terribly great, but I think 2021, especially for the specialty coffee industry, folks have been through so much that it has brought a lot of us closer together. It has brought us to focus more on each other instead of ourselves. And I think that's going to be a great place to start growing for 2021. Folks are struggling, but we're also looking for answers, for solutions. And as long as folks don't give up, I think 2021 is going to be a better year as we move forward. So for the industry, I mean, we have some great people in the industry all over the world, and a lot of folks are doing some really positive stuff. And if that keeps going, man, it's only going to go up from here, right? It's got to.
Yeah, fair enough, right? And also a very positive outlook on what's to come, right? I'm just gonna sneak in one more question here because I think both you and me share a common interest in coffee competitions. You as a company as well is doing extremely well, and it's not just you as a person. But maybe I got this wrong, but I read somewhere that the US is canceling for 2 years. Is that true?
Yeah, so we lost this year, and we were going to Andre Allen won the barista competition, and she's going to be the champion for 2021.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have a competition at all. And then I just recently heard that they moved the expo that was going to be in April to October. So that pushes it back another year. So 2 years down.
Yeah, sure.
That's gonna be interesting to see the effect that has on the American competition scene. No?
Yeah, and we were in a position to help more people this year than last year. We helped 8 baristas, well, 9 baristas, and 8 made it to nationals. We were looking forward to helping more this year, and so I don't know what's going to happen, man. It's crazy. I've yeah, my entire coffee career has been kind of wrapped in competition. So whether I was competing or not, or volunteering, it hasn't been a year that I haven't been at the competition. So this is wild, and that's actually sparked us to like, well, let's do a virtual competition. And we, for our birthday, our 3rd year birthday this year, we launched a birthday competition where we had 300 people register. You get 5 coffees, and you have to determine the origin, the processing. And yeah, it's really cool because we were just sitting around the office like, all right, how can we do a competition? And it just popped in our head, and we're like, well, let's reach out to Slayer and Malkunig. And Slayer threw in a 1-group espresso machine. Malkunig donated a E65S grinder. We're giving a year subscription to Black and White. Pacific Barista Series is giving a year supply of alternative drink. And Pacific is also our coffee and shipping sponsor. So that allowed us to give the entire $50 per registrant to Grounds for Health. So we raised 15 grand, which is amazing. Grounds for Health, they do cervical cancer screening in coffee producing countries. And they have 2 projects running, one in Ethiopia, one in Kenya. And when we announced that, Liemco, they customize espresso machines, and they reached out to us and said, hey, whoever wins will customize their 1-group Slayer. And this was amazing. We just decided to do this competition, and in a week's time, we had all these people just donate. Oh, Slow Pour, they donated stuff. Created Co donated cups. So whoever wins this is going to basically get a whole cafe.
I mean, that is true. That is truly amazing, and I think it's a great way to also wrap up this conversation with an inspiring project, inspiring story, and I just want to personally also thank you for so clearly showing that there's something positive coming out of everything, and that there's actually there's a lot of good stuff happening now in the world, right? And as you say, like, it's a reminder to us all that this industry is founded and including some amazing people, right? And if we all kind of come together, we share our story, and we work on this, we're going to come out much stronger than we ever were before. And it's a really inspiring story. And thank you very much, Lem, for dedicating some time for us as well.
Oh, thank you for reaching out, man. I'm glad we finally made that connection.
Yeah, it's super. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. This project has been brought to you by April Media, which is an unfiltered view on the coffee industry powered by our Patreon supporters. We would love it if you share these episodes, subscribe to our channels, and if you want to be a part of building this, please join our Patreon. Thank you again.